let's talk a little bit about what the GOP schism looks like right now. On MSNBC, they addressed the growing GOP schism and the fact that Mitch McConnell is firmly, the leader in the Senate, majority leader in the Senate, is firmly coming out on the side of sanity. And that's going to have a huge effect overall. Here it is.
Speaker McConnell chose to associate himself with Chief Manger, not Tucker Carlson. Let me show you that.
With regard to the presentation on Fox News last night, I want to associate myself entirely with the opinion of the chief of the Capitol Police about what happened on January 6th. Clearly, the chief of the Capitol Police, in my view, correctly describes what most of us witnessed firsthand on January 6th. So that's my reaction to it. It was a mistake, in my view, for Fox News to depict this in a way that's completely at variance with what our chief law enforcement official here at the Capitol thinks.
Now, we don't throw parades for people who can't just come out and say it's bullshit. Hiding behind the chief of police is fine for today. I guess that counts as courage in today's Republican Party, Frank. But interesting that you have, I mean, there's no divide on Earth One where all Democrats, all independents, and a growing swath of Republicans live. But there's an emerging
no smoke being tossed their way here. But I do want to say, look, I agree that McConnell could have good Lord. McConnell could have come out stronger against that. All right, yeah, he could have. But the fact is, this is a good thing that he's done. Now, right now, because I said that, hell just got a little bit colder. I rarely agree with Mitch McConnell. But at the end of the day, he was pretty clear. Tucker Carlson's wrong. The head of the Capitol Police is correct. What more do you want him to say to his audience? I mean, or rather, the people who will listen to what he has to say. I think that is, if not worthy of outright praise, it's worthy of a pass on the finger wagging. But I would not want to put the brakes on anyone in corporate media actually taking a whack at the GOP. So I'm going to go easy on it.
Split on the right, where Tucker Carlson, Kevin McCarthy, and Donald Trump have a closed circuit that is deeply invested in revising the history, as Tucker Carlson and Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy and Donald Trump all know it actually went down. I mean, the January 6th committee makes clear that Trump knew he lost. I mean, the evidence is so abundant, it makes you want to skip over this part of the story. But I wonder what you make of and what impact it will have on this climate to have the most powerful Republican in the Senate align himself with law enforcement.
Yeah, I'm grateful not only for the chief's statement, which was absolutely necessary, although sad that it was necessary, but I'm grateful for the endorsement of that statement by Senator McConnell, because really, if there's any benefit at all, and it's hard to see any, to what Tucker Carlson is doing this week, it's that it's causing people to choose sides. We're choosing up sides here. The sides are.
So we're talking about, when he says people to choose sides, sane Americans don't have to choose sides. Sane Americans know exactly what is correct. Effing indict Donald Trump already. But when he's saying choose sides, he means amongst the GOP. They have to choose sides. In other words, the schism that's been talked about on this network almost since its inception has been growing. And that is only good for us. That's good for sane Americans electorally. That's good for sane Americans in terms of legislation. That's good across the board. I also want to point something out, because I failed to mention it in the past. Mitch McConnell is leader of the Senate. Why does the Senate tend to act a little bit more middle of the road than the House? Because in the Senate, they're elected by a much larger swath of their state. Whereas in the House, they are just their district. That I've already mentioned. What I have not mentioned is that the Senate were the ones fleeing in that tape. A lot of the people in the Senate right now lived through January 6th. They were on the receiving end of January 6th, and they have a lot less patience for the nonsense conspiracy theories. Remember Lindsey Graham, out of breath, exasperated, saying, I'm out. Enough is enough. They were scared, and they genuinely don't want that to happen again. So expect the Senate to take the side of sanity, and expect the House to keep being crazy. If you want to know who to watch, you watch the House for the craziest stuff and the Senate for the GOP's version of middle of the road, which is still insanely right-wing, as a rebuttal.
Truth or fiction, law and order, or crime and disorder. What side are you on? A peaceful election and transition of power, or violence because you don't like what happened in a lawful vote? Those are the sides that Tucker's choosing, causing people to choose. And so it's not just about fabrication. It's not just about, I'm showing a balanced portrayal of what happened on January 6th. But rather, I've heard some people say, well, it's the calm. He's showing just the calm before the storm. He's showing the calm without the storm. That's a problem, because it's the storm that is the focus of now 1,000. We are officially at 1,000 arrests regarding violence and trespass and obstruction of Congress at the Capitol on January 6th. Speaking of that charge, one of the people, the QAnon shaman, who is the subject of about 2 minutes of Tucker Carlson's clip of him wandering around looking for doors and the police escorting him, trying to figure out what he's up to, trying to do the right thing and not get into a fist fight that could lead to a fist fight with 2,000 other people, and they're outnumbered. So, if you understand the psychology of crowds and law enforcement and crowd control, be careful about the battle you pick, because you could find yourself flat on your back real quickly and outnumbered. So
that is so true. When you see exactly as we warned about on this channel before Tucker's ridiculous coverage, when you see those officers seeming to treat rioters nicely, bear in mind they had just lost a fist fight. The loser of a fist fight tends to be real polite. That's simple.
let's talk about the QAnon shaman. Marjorie Taylor Greene, after Tucker's clip last night, went on social media and said, well, clearly the shaman needs a new trial. He was doing nothing wrong. There is no new trial to have. You know why he didn't have a trial? He pled guilty. He was read the charges against him. He was showing the evidence against him. And he said, yeah, I did do that and I regret it. Guilty. No trial necessary. So that's what we're dealing with here, is a complete absence of truth. And what's it about? Is it really minimizing what happened on January 6th? What's the real purpose? Look, we don't only have the potential existential threat by Dominion's lawsuit against Fox, but we have a former president who may be looking at indictment for what? Inciting the violence on January 6th. If you minimize what happened on January 6th, and it's a collective yawn, then why are we indicting a former president for it?
The other purpose is simply so that Republicans can feel like they have a rebuttal to was January 6th a crime. They don't need to have the information. They just need the general sense that there is such a thing as a reasonable right-wing rebuttal to whether or not a crime occurred. And if they have that, they can then turn their brains off. That's the issue. So what can you do about it? Ooh, boy. Well, bear in mind, this is part of a growing schism. We are going to have people leaving the Republican Party. The kind of folks that voted for Mitch McConnell in his state are very likely to start looking at maybe the Democratic Party if they see big names becoming Democrats. It wouldn't shock me to see a lot more senators become Democratic senators, simply because staying in the far right of the country, as opposed to the normal right-wingers that are corporate Democrats, it involves appealing to people that just don't exist in the reality that you're trying to legislate. You can't make a pitch for laws to those people because they won't think any of the pitches you're going to make are related to their problems. Vote as left as you can. We need to offset the incoming influx of right-wing opinion. In the primaries, get as far left as you can. In the upcoming primaries, get as far left as you can, because we have got to make sure that the Democratic Party that takes power, let's hope, in 2024 in the House, Senate, and in the presidency, is not so watered down with right-wingers. And if you want to know what that looks like, Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema tanked some of the best legislation that was coming out. We need to make sure that they are offset by actual left-wing opinions in what is supposed to be America's left-wing party.